launching into a new week with the Snow Blast KSA Cup. It's an international freestyle skiing competition that wrapped up last week. What made it really unique wasn't just some of the tricks, but where the event was held, in a place where the high temperature was in the 80s on the last day of the competition. Skiing in the capital of Saudi Arabia is, quote, weird for sure, in the words of one of the participants. And yet, with the right venue, pro snowboarders, Olympic medalists, and 500 tons of artificial snow, you've got yourself a show of winter sports not far from the edge of the Syrian desert. It was intended as a family event, with tickets going for between $5 and $10 each. It's also the first event of its kind, according to American skier Tanner Hall, bringing snow to the desert in an effort to pass on the culture of skiing. I'm Azuz for the world from A to Z. It is great to be kicking off a new week with you. As usual, we're going all over the planet to get you up to speed on current events. Next destination is the waters off the coast of Taiwan. This is an island that's about 100 miles southeast of China. And while that nation sees Taiwan as part of its own territory, Taiwan's had its own government since 1949 when China's Communist Revolution took place, and the island wants to keep it that way. Whether it will be able to is the question. In recent years, China's become more assertive about reunification with Taiwan, which threatens the island's democratic government. And one of the big roadblocks to a potential Chinese takeover of Taiwan has been the fact that the US supports the island and wants it to remain a democratic ally of America. The status of Taiwan is one of the main reasons why China and the US are rivals of each other. Geographically, though, Taiwan is much closer to China, and tensions between the two sides are boiling in the waters that separate them.
Just off the foggy coast, near Taiwan's frontline Jinmen Islands, the Chinese Coast Guard intercepts a Taiwanese tourist boat. Taiwan's Coast Guard calls it an unprecedented forced inspection, triggering panic among passengers and the public.
It was very scary. I was afraid that I might not be able to return to Taiwan.
These are the waters where that incident happened, where the Chinese Coast Guard boarded the Taiwanese tourist boat and checked everyone's ID, spooking a lot of the people on board. You can see how close we are to the skyline of the Chinese city of Xiamen. There are Chinese construction boats all throughout these waters. Pretty easy to mix up which side, the Chinese side or the Taiwanese side, you're on when you're this close. Cross-strait tensions rising here ever since the Lunar New Year holiday. A Chinese speedboat capsized in a chase with Taiwan's Coast Guard. Similar to this one several years ago, Chinese fishing boats accused by Taiwan of trespassing the island's territorial waters more than 1,000 times last year alone.
As the speedboat was snaking, trying to evade inspection and even drifting, it capsized, and 4 people fell into the sea.
2 Chinese fishermen drowned. 2 others survived, telling a conflicting story.
Even if we make quick turns, we won't capsize. It only capsized when it was rammed into.
An infuriated Beijing accuses Taipei of covering up the fishermen's deaths. Chinese officials blame Taiwan's ruling party, reiterating Beijing's sovereign claim over Taiwan, promising to step up patrols in the area. Taiwan is deploying its own Coast Guard in response. Analysts say the mainland may be testing how far it can push Taiwan, trying to erode its ability to control waters long governed by Taipei.
On this date in world history. Happy birthday to the U.S. Constitution. On March 4th, 1789, the U.S. Congress met for the very first time, putting the Constitution into effect. While it's been amended 27 times, its original words remain the basis for how the government operates, and it's either the world's oldest or second oldest constitution, depending on how you see that of San Marino. The U.S. Constitution used to list March 4th as when presidents were inaugurated, unless it fell on a Sunday. That began with the second inauguration of George Washington in 1793 and ended with Franklin D. Roosevelt's first term in 1933. But the 20th Amendment changed the inauguration date to January 20th and sped up presidential transitions. And March 4th was when one of baseball's biggest stars got a really big payday. Well, at least he thought so. In 1927, Babe Ruth signed a 3-year contract with the New York Yankees for $70,000 a year, making the slugger the highest paid player to that point. Today's highest paid player, Shohei Ohtani, makes an average of $70 million per year.
World of knowledge. Which of these fruits come from a tree in the mulberry family? Breadfruit, guava, grapefruit, pomelo. Like the fig and the jackfruit, the one on this list comes from the mulberry family is the breadfruit.
There are incredibly diverse uses for breadfruit, according to Encyclopedia Britannica. The tree can be used to make everything from cloth to canoes, from paper to glue. And when it comes to its fruit, there are several ways you can prepare it to eat. You can fry it, roast it, you can bake it. These are some of the reasons why it's important to residents of a historic community in Maui, Hawaii, that was largely destroyed in a wildfire last August.
Months after wildfires devastated Lahaina in Hawaii, locals are still recovering and salvaging treasures, like tree roots. They're from the breadfruit tree, a cultural staple in Hawaii nearly destroyed by the fires. Breadfruit trees, or if you're Hawaiian, ulu, were brought to the islands around AD 1000 by Polynesian settlers as a way to quickly grow food in a new land. The trees can produce anywhere from 250 to 1,000 pounds of food in a year. And the fruit has tons of uses.
It's very versatile. The 10 years we've been living here, at least in our home since we built it, we have not had a single potato in our house. We're making, potato salad, it's with breadfruit. If we're making stew, we're using breadfruit or taro. We're making curries, we're using the same thing.
The Lahaina fires almost wiped out the island's breadfruit trees. Almost.
Even though they weren't burnt, they weren't charred, they were literally cooked.
Most trees can be propagated by planting a cutting, but when they've been cooked through, your best bet is to dig for the roots that the fire didn't reach. A team of volunteer arborists is working to salvage those roots and start a slew of new breadfruit trees.
The work that we're trying to do is first and foremost to ensure that those historical trees live on and their genealogy lives on throughout the historical footprint of Lahaina.
But it might have another benefit: food security. Hawaiians haven't been eating much breadfruit in the last century. The island imports 90% of its food products.
The Lahaina of today and the Lahaina of the past 100 years is not the Lahaina that was always there. It was quite different in the past, and that's really important to remember because it reminds us that it can be different in the future as well.
Growing breadfruit could help reduce the food insecurity that 1 in 6 Hawaiians currently experiences.
Maybe if Bugs Bunny had taken that left turn at Albuquerque, he would have surfaced at Highland High School. The home of the Hornets is watching from Mr. White's class in the land of enchantment, New Mexico. And from East Waterboro, a city in the vacation land of Maine, we welcome Mr. Beals' class at Massabesic Middle School. Great to be running with the Mustangs this Monday. Couple weeks ago, a bag of jewelry was donated to a Goodwill store in Pennsylvania. A small golden mask was in it, but no one at Goodwill thought much about it until they posted it online and started getting a lot of attention. Officials then investigated and found that this was one of 30 rare Bionicle masks that Lego released in 2001. So Goodwill held an auction for it, and the winning bid for the gold mask fetched more than $18,000. The charity says the money will support its mission of helping people in need. But will it join Lego's ATA team of classics? You could spend a millennium flying over a Galaxy Explorer till you've reached the Lion Knight's castle or the Hogwarts castle, set sail on the Titanic, roamed the Colosseum, or scaled the heights of the Eiffel Tower. The mask is just one piece in a legacy of laying bricks till someone lays a fortune worth its weight in gold. I'm Carl Azuz, and I'm gonna hit the bricks. We hope the rest of your Monday goes very well.